And I'm thrilled to introduce to you our first expert for today, DJ Singley at MAPSYS.
Hey folks, I'm DJ. Hey, this is now the second AI Masterclass and actually the third AI webinar we've done, and I'm happy that you have all stuck with me through this. And I've talked to some of you after these webinars, which was really, really great. So thanks again for all that. It's been great to meet you folks. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, right? So I've invited a couple of my friends with me here to get additional perspectives on this thing we call AI. The first gentleman to my right is Dan Greenleaf. He is the CEO of AI Rising Conferences here in Columbus and also a colleague of mine here at MAPSYS. He's an account executive here specializing in AI and other technologies. So excited to have Dan and his perspective on with us. Additionally, we have Alex and Andrew. They are two principal architects covering AI from our very favorite vendor, IBM. So they are both here with us. And at the back half of this webinar, we're going to delve into a little bit more of the interesting technical aspects, right? A lot of these webinars of me been really talking to you folks about the strategy of doing AI and how to bring it into your businesses. Well, now I'm going to show you, not me, Alex and Andrew are going to show you using IBM tools, some of the cutting edge things you can do with IBM and their AI tools. So very excited to show you that at the back half of the webinar. So thank you, Ella, for that. So appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. We encourage you to participate in this discussion, which will run about 1 hour, followed by a Q&A session. You are welcome to share your questions or comments in the Q&A chat throughout the discussion. We will monitor and feature some of the questions to enhance the session further. Now, kindly ensure that your comments, questions are respectful and appropriate. Any inappropriate comment will be removed along with the attendees posting such comment. Now, if you can't stay for the full event, be sure to watch the replay and set up a meet and greet with one of our experts. Please expect a call in the next few days from a member of our team to gather your feedback, complete your voice verification, and set up your meet and greet if you want one. Now let's get things rolling. Let's examine our first data set. So we actually engage with 45 business and technical decision makers to describe their organization's current stage in its AI journey. And here's what we've discovered. So as you can see, 38% of them stated they are currently exploring AI possibilities, followed by 23% who stated they're building custom AI solutions. 23% stated still trying to understand AI, and the rest, as you can see here, is on the screen. So I'm going to pass this over to DJ. And DJ, does this align to what you see out there? And where is the baseline for AI adoption in 2025?
Well, thanks, Al. I appreciate that. No, this is really interesting data, and I'm glad you compiled this from these folks that are looking at this. I feel like this is very representative of what we see with our customer set when we talk to them, right? Now, a lot of you have already heard a lot of what I have to say in some of my opinions on this stuff, so I'm going to ask my fellow panelists here to comment here in just a little bit. But I do want to comment one thing first, is that second line where we're talking about building custom AI solutions at 23%. That is what I see. And during our last webinar, we really delved into that a lot more. That's what I see as the real differentiator for most of AI in business today is how can you find a competitive advantage from using AI in some kind of solution in your business? How can you use AI to get you ahead of your nearest competitor, your nearest rival, do something they're not doing in order to reap better business benefits? So that's when I talk about AI, that's really where I hone in on the possibility, the art of the possible of what we can do with businesses. So it's really more of a custom approach. But, I know Dan has a different, there are other additional ideas here. So Dan, what do you think about some of these aspects here on the sheet?
You know, to be fair, I think that the sample size represents people who are interested in AI and probably skews a little bit more towards people who are more likely to already be building a custom solution. But right now, every business is exploring AI. A lot of businesses right now are just ChatGPT, Copilot, Perplexity, basic models like that. But a number of businesses are starting to look at how do we use AI to solve our core business problems, our core competencies, right? So if I'm a retailer, how do I create individualized customer experiences? If I'm a if I'm an energy provider, how do I better predict the needs of the energy needs of my customers? So that's where people are starting. And just like the internet revolution of the 90s, there are going to be winners who jump on board early and they take advantage of this and they use that. They become the next Amazon, they become the next Netflix. And there's going to be losers, Sears, Blockbuster. 5 years ago was the best time to have gotten started. Today is the second best time. And so I encourage people to begin looking at what are my core business priorities? Every company has them, right? What are the things we expect to accomplish this year? And then are there parts of that that align with AI? And that's where DJ and I will be happy to help you offline one-on-one. But I would say that a good portion of businesses are going to do that this year and they're going to get a head start. And the businesses that don't 2 or 3 years from now are going to be in a real problem state.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. That's a good idea here. I like that a lot. I mean, it's not too late to get started now, but if we're still having this conversation 5 years, just like Dan said, we might have a problem, right? So hey, Alex, what are your thoughts here on this
You know,
data
one
set?
of the Yeah, for sure. So one of the ones that I expect to so from this, I expect to grow a lot more is actually the building custom AI solutions. And the reason I think that that's going to go, we're sitting at 23%. I don't think that's, bad to say that it might be 50% here in the future because building custom is not what it used to be, right? It's not this like super slow, very expensive journey, right? Out of the box, you plug and play, but you don't necessarily get what you want. If you can build something custom and you can still build it quick, then you're getting a lot more business value out of it. So I think we're going to see that expand a lot more than even some of these other ones of the prepackaged applications, right? And IBM does them both, so we have options for everybody. But the building custom solutions is really the exciting part to me. So
Yeah, I like that, Alex. Yeah, I think you're right. And to hit a little bit more color on what you just said in the prepackaged applications, I was working with a mid-range financial customer recently, and their board said to their C-suite, "Hey, where are we using AI?" Well, they went down to the IT department and said, "Hey guys, where are we using AI?" And IT immediately compiled a list of all the prepackaged applications that has AI in it and
yep.
sent it right back up to the board. And they said, "Wow, look at that. We're doing AI." Yes, you're doing AI. You're keeping up with the Joneses. You're doing the same AI that every other mid-range financial is doing. Congratulations. You're doing exactly what's expected of you in business, but you're not doing something that's going to differentiate you from the competition. So I think that was one of my main points I made in a previous webinar. But Andrew, what do you think about these data?
Yeah, I want to add an additional color to that building custom AI solutions and how that differentiates from just leveraging packaged solutions or a point solution that solves an individual problem. Because what we're looking for here is sort of a platform-based approach. And the things that especially jump out to me are combining that build and custom AI solutions with trying to understand AI, right? So with the advent of generative AI, I think there's a little bit of a confusion as to what's really possible out there because you still can leverage a lot of the traditional AI, your machine learning techniques to make sense of your data and have informed decision making or applications that can act on the data that you have, as well as preparing that data and identifying use cases. I think AI is as much of a data problem as it is an actual like artificial intelligence and use case problem. Being able to synthesize your data and back a custom application to act on that data, whether it's something external or customer facing, or something internal to help with organizational decision making or automating a workflow. I think there's a lot of different powerful ways that we can apply it across the enterprise, taking more of a platform approach as opposed to taking these point solutions and just throwing them at different business problems. So I think the idea of a custom AI solution is really a synthesis of understanding what's out there from an AI tool and methodology standpoint, as well as having an understanding of both your structured data, like stuff stored in databases or tables, as well as your unstructured data, things that might be natural language or in content or videos. So there's a lot out there and there's a lot of possibility, but it's really understanding what tools and data you have to be able to build something custom and really powerful and revolutionary.
Yeah, that's a good point, Andrew. I like that. You know, I want to zero in on this middle chart, part of the chart here for just a second. A lot of 23% here. There is a line here that says still trying to understand AI, and I think this is perfect for Dan, right? Dan runs a conference series here in Columbus. I've spoken at it along with many other folks, leaders here in the Columbus area, the Columbus, Ohio area. Dan, you run a lot of folks all the time. In fact, when you talk to customers through the last several months, most of the conversations really revolve around that still trying to understand AI stage, right? I mean, how do you feel about that? Is that a representative data point? Do you think it's still 23%, or is it almost damn near 100%? What do you think?
I think very, very few people I talk to understand strategically what AI can do
Mm-hmm.
and where it's at today. So there are problems that AI can probably solve quickly. There are problems that AI is not ready for. I liken it to the Agile revolution, right? So when Agile first came out, it was perfect. If you're building a website and you're building it incrementally, that makes sense to people. And they were able to use techniques like Scrum and extreme programming. However, if you were moving a data center, the initial advice was don't touch Agile, right? It's not there yet. Today, there are Kanban and several other techniques. You know, Safe actually does a decent job. And that's the same with AI. There are areas we can look at where AI can have data and it can make informed decisions and it can do predictive analysis and it makes sense. And there's problems where, you know, I have a customer right now who's closing a number of retail stores. I don't know that AI is the right solution for them. I don't see where it would be able to help them better than the one-time analysis they're going to do. So in that case, I say let's not use it. So I think it's find out where it's at and where your problems have the underlying data, have the underlying capacity for AI to be supplemental or to be decisioning and to actually help and focus on those.
That's awesome, Dan. I feel like you and I learn a lot from each other. You speak to so many folks all along the AI path as well as I do. Listen, Alex, Andrew, before we exit this slide here, the other thing I thought that caught my eye a bit was this 23% with early stage adoption. And I'm assuming that's early stage adoption and production workloads running with AI, right? Is that what maybe your experience would lend? Is that 23% real, or do you think it's larger? Do you think it's smaller? Alex or Andrew, what do you think?
Andrew, what do you have? Let me think about
I
that one a
think it
little
tends
bit.
to be a little bit smaller. I think where I
Would
find most
agree.
organizations to be at is they have a really long list of use cases that they want to explore AI with, but they don't exactly know where exactly they want to get started. And so I think the exercise that we're kind of doing right now in practice is actually like going through those use cases, determining which ones are the quickest to spin up to prove out the technology in that production environment and prove out the value such that it can be expanded across a wider variety of use cases and take more of that platform approach where the underlying technology can handle a variety of use cases. But I think right now, a lot of companies are just sort of ideating, you know, where can we apply this technology? What are the different ways in which this technology can be used, but not actually putting it into practice yet, because really it's just a matter of figuring out what's the right way to get started in a responsible and governed manner that's also still effective and can provide a quick return on investment.
And taking that like even one step further in terms of like kind of the production aspect of it, I would say like if you probably took that 23% and said, how many of you are using this today in a production environment? I think it's going to
Mm,
be much smaller, mostly just in the aspect of it just takes a while to prove
Mhm.
something out, right? I want something to be, on the nose for a year before it goes to production, right? And AI is just so new, right? We're really just getting into a big swing of things and people are now starting up their production environments. Last year, that might have been zero, right? So,
Alex,
yeah.
you're exactly
Think on
right.
that.
I see a lot of organizations doing like UAT testing, for example. So using it in more of that non-production environment and testing out the workloads before actually putting it in practice and integrating their business processes with AI, just because of how high risk this could potentially be. So I think a lot of organizations are also in that testing phase where they're still proving out the technology internally before putting it in production.
And I think you have to look at the axis of criticality when you're looking at using any new technology. So I was working with the Ohio Department of Youth, here obviously in Ohio, and talking about areas that they could use AI. And they're actually one of the most advanced government organizations I've had the pleasure of talking with. And, some things I said to avoid, like a use of force decision where somebody could get hurt. Let's not try to pilot AI there. Let's not try to pilot AI in a decision around somebody's, critical benefits from HR. Let's look for areas where, maybe it's about education, or maybe it's about employee scheduling or things like that, where we're not putting lives at risk. We're not putting, the reputation of the organization or millions and millions of dollars at risk for making a wrong decision. And if you look at that, there are some areas where absolutely we're going to need to test this out for a year before we ever let it peak at production, and then we'll have it monitored. Great. Let's not focus on those areas. Let's focus on the things that, where, if AI makes a mistake, it's not the end of the world. We learn and we grow.
I love it. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Folks, as you can tell, our panelists here today have a lot of experience and a lot of ideas when it comes to this. And we could probably, all four of us, knock it till we're blue in the face. But we definitely want to make sure we get this 40 minutes to an hour, here for you folks. That is very, very worthwhile. So we have lots to go on, lots to come here. So Ella, why don't we look at the next slide, please? And we'll get some insights there.
Yep. All right, moving on to the next slide. Let me just build it out real quick. So we reached out to the same group of business and technology decision makers, to gain insight into what aspect of AI they are most, curious about. And here's what the data reveals. So as you can see, 30% stated what are the key benefits of AI. 23% stated is AI worth of the investment. Another 20% stated, can AI drive meaningful innovation? And as you can see, the others are on your screen. I'm going to pass this over back to DJ. So DJ, what do you think about these data? And what is a reasonable pace for incorporating AI into your business operations?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that. I think I'll comment on one thing here first, because I think it's funny that it's so low, and I think it's kind of representative of our message here. And that is the am I falling behind in adoption? Only 15%. That's good that most people probably think that they're not. And that's, I think, from Dan's comments earlier, from IBM's comments earlier as well, and my comments, we all believe that probably you're not, right? This last year was the year of the proof of concept. So is this year the year of proof of concept. But listen, more and more businesses are getting these proof of concepts out into the wild and out into production and starting to reap the benefits from that AI in production. So we're starting to see this stuff become real, which is, I think, the most important thing. But there's lots of other stuff on this slide I think that is really interesting to talk about, especially since we have some really, really great talent from IBM on the phone here with us. So, both Alex, Andrew, I think the one that kind of jumps out at me, which might be really interesting to take both of your temperatures on, is the AI worth the investment? You see a lot of proof of concepts. Both Dan and I do too, but you see even more than we do, right? So what do you both think about that? What do you think the outcomes are of your proof of concepts? Are folks happy with it? Is it moving into production? How fast is it moving? Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, generally people are happy with their POCs through IBM. You've got the occasional person who expected the moon from something that you put together rather quickly, right? But the cool thing about POCs with the experts, like expert labs and other types of engineering through IBM, is that it is very quick, right? I've done POCs with other companies, not IBM, and they take years, right? We're talking POCs that maybe come out in 4 weeks, 2 weeks, right? We're identifying use cases day one and getting them to a POC, right? There's just, we don't want to spend a lot of time not doing things when we can do things, right? So is it worth the investment? I mean, I definitely think it is. I think it's got a low entry into it. The kind of like the tagline that I've been having for a little bit is 5 years ago, it was a really big spend with low return. Right now, you're getting low spend, big return. So now is the time.
Good point. I like that a lot. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this? Any additional insight?
Yeah, I just want to add to that and just point out like we're finding a really quickly realized ROI when we implement a lot of these AI applications. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're, like Alex said, are able to spin up even small parts of a broader use case so quickly just because we boast these low code, no code, pro code tools that allow for you to easily not only develop these custom AI applications, but integrate them into your business processes, flesh out these use cases, or even parts of the use case. An example of this, I worked with a customer and we put together an intelligent document processing use case where we extracted information from POs, used generative AI to create a JSON and move it downstream. And this was really easy to put together. And the value was realized both from a dollar amount standpoint, when you're managing purchase orders and completing the procure to pay process, but also from a user satisfaction standpoint. It's taking a lot of the monotonous parts of individuals' jobs out and allowing for them to be freed up to do more complex work and more revenue generating activities, thus showing it's really easy and quick to realize the ROI on a lot of this stuff, thus demonstrating how worth the investment it is, as it's easy to put together and easy to find value in.
Wow. Yeah, Andrew, I like that. In fact, I was just thinking maybe Dan and I should look into that for MAPSYS. We need some more time back in our day after processing all these POs. That's
Right.
funny. One thing that strikes out at me too here is this: how do I get started? I want to send this over to Dan here because the how do I get started seems pretty low in this survey. Now, we could maybe attest that, hey, you guys have been, you folks out there on this webinar have been attending lots of webinars. You've been going to lots of conferences like Dan's AI Rising conferences. Maybe you have a lot of experience now understanding how to get started, but it still seems pretty low, Dan, at 15%. What do you think that is? Do you just doing a really good job at your conferences? What do you think?
I don't think most of the people who attend, it's like the Dunning-Kruger curve, right? The people who aren't coming think they know everything because they've used Chat GPT a few times. The people who do come realize how little we actually know, and how big AI is and how fast it's growing. So I think most of us don't know the full scale of what AI can do today and where it's at and some of the different common solutions. I think as far as getting started, obviously it's attending a webinar like this or attending other events. It's doing some reading or watching, personally I like to watch YouTube videos. And then it's engaging with experts, right? So there's only so much you're going to get out of reading a book, but then you need to bring somebody into your organization and say, okay, here's my organization. Here's our focus areas. Our goal for 2025 is to increase international customers. Okay, well, how are we going to do that? And is AI a great tool to help me do that? If the answer is yes, great, let's talk. If the answer is no, then that's perfectly fine. Let's not use a hammer when it's time to use a drill.
Yeah, good point, Dan. I like that. So maybe just a couple more insights here, folks, and then I want to make sure we have enough time for IBM to show you some of the tools that we have here. But so one thing I think is really prescient here is that the question here is AI worth the investment at 23%? Again, these 23% numbers are everywhere today, right? So when I talk to a customer doing something called a design thinking session, the thing that I drill down on with our architects, again, the IBM folks here, those are our architects, as well as other MAPSYS folks here, is that does this AI investment ROI? And I know IBM, you guys both talked about this earlier just a bit, but I feel like it's really important to hammer this home. AI is cool. Everyone wants to do AI. The board wants to make sure you're doing AI so you're not falling behind. However, is it worth it? If you spend X dollars on AI, are you going to get XXX dollars back? Or are you going to get half an X back? And I think that's really important, really seriously. I know it sounds like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to do that calculus before I get started. But I feel like there's a lot of folks that get caught up in the hoopla of AI that don't fully understand what that return of investment might be. And so my last real question, a real comment is gentlemen, IBM gentlemen, Alex, Andrew, what do you think? Are you doing that calculus with your customers as you're doing these POCs? What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially once we engage, like for POCs and things like that, we have an entire thing dedicated to what are you going to get out of this, right? So we put in the cost, we put in what we expect to get out, then we start doing reels from after obviously implementation. DJ, if you remember when we actually last talked to a client, what was it, December last year, and
Yep.
we gave him a little demo of Watson X, right?
Sure.
Uh, the one thing that we hammered on so many times, I think people were sick of me saying the words, is business value. I talk about that all the time. You see the PowerPoints I say, that might be every third word that I say. Business value is all that matters, right? We're not here to just do cool things. We need to get money back of the money we spent, right? And I think people are seeing that. So,
Yeah, I think you're right too. Andrew, what do you think before we move on?
No, Alex is exactly right. It's all about business value. We have dedicated teams when we do these engagements whose entire role and job is to qualify that business value. And we actually do that from the start. When we decide which use case we want to prove out, we're going to choose one that has that qualified business value because, yeah, at the end of the day, none of these exercises, none of these activities, this implementation, the workshops that we hold, none of it's worthwhile if there's no qualified business value at the end of the day, and it's not worth adopting for an organization if the business value is not proved out as well. So we make sure to iron that out even before we really get hands-on with these engagements, such that we can prove out the business value as well as the technical value.
Perfect.
You know, in addition to
okay, sorry. Go ahead.
in addition to finding products or solutions that deliver real business value quickly, and you absolutely need to focus there. I think a lot of people don't understand the value in just learning about AI and building that muscle within your organization. You know, as Ken Schwaber, the co-creator of Scrum, said, it's better to go the wrong direction than go nowhere at all, because you're going to learn and you're going to grow. And so even if you know, be like Google and you invent Google Plus, and that we all know is a huge write-off, they've learned, they've grown, and the organization continues to mature. If your organization isn't building that muscle, isn't building that skill set today, they're going to be left behind.
Perfect, Dan. I like that. Alex, do you have any other additional comments before we move on?
I was just going to say before we move on, because I actually get this question all the time, and so I was like, I kind of want to take it, Andrew and I, one more time around just to make sure that everybody kind of has a fulfilled answer for it. So how do I get started? I'm so surprised that's only 15%. I wouldn't be surprised if that was 100%, right? Because every client that I talk to is saying, we want to do these things. We have kind of ideas. Where do I go next? Right? What do I actually do? And so that's something that I do every single time that I have a client meeting, right? Is here's 1, 2, 3. And that's not necessarily an order, but it's things that you can think about, things that you can do, and things that you can talk about, right? So for example, IBM really wants to make our products, our technology more accessible. So if you go on and look at like Watson X, for example, you're going to all of a sudden see free trials for like 30 days and things like that. That is probably the number one that I would say how to get started is just try it by yourself. I don't care if you try ChatGPT. I don't care if you try anything from Google. If you're trying AI, I think it's really cool. And that's the way to learn, right? You can listen to us talk about it all day, but you got to get hands to keyboard and try it yourself.
Oh, perfect. I like that again. In fact, I was talking to a good buddy of mine, Mike, earlier today, and he had that exact same question. And after a little bit of guidance from me, he's probably now sitting there at his keyboard, trying out AI, and hopefully he'll make his way to IBM AI here in the future. So perfect. That was great. So I want to do one quick thing. I want to remind folks our engagement methodology, really, right? When we work with IBM, our favorite thing to do is something called a design thinking session for custom AI. We get together in a room with our IBM friends here or other architects from MAPSYS, Dan and I, and we'll talk about your idea. Does it hold water? Can we design it? Can we do a proof of concept with it? And then we'll roll into a proof of concept if it's deemed worthy. I'm sure it is. and we'll build out a proof of concept for you at very little or no cost even. And at that point, did we hit all the T's and C's? Does it work? It does. It's looking like it's going to ROI. Fantastic. We invested in you. Time for you to invest in us. we'll bring it to production ready environment with a little bit of services work and some extra, some extra programming and architecture wrapped around it. So that is our winning strategy for making AI a reality with our customers. And I'm sure there's a couple of customers on the phone right now that are going through that with us today. So hi guys, it's good to see you, although I can't see you. What's coming up next is we're going to have a little bit of we're going to understand IBM's insights on a couple of their main approaches and the main software strategies that they're using to design and build and deliver AI, production ready AI to you, the customer. Alex is going to talk about WatsonX.ai for a little bit. He's going to share a screen, take us through a demo and a proof of concept, some of the stuff that he's done before. And then Andy's going to talk about WatsonX Orchestrate, one of my favorite low code, no code ways to bring AI into reality. So gentlemen, I'll hand it off to you and we can go from here.
All right, let me go ahead, and I goofed the share screen up the first time I tried it, but I'm gonna try again. So
listen,
give me
these
the thumbs
webinars,
up.
everyone knows I
Guys,
goof a lot up too.
yeah, it's like, can you see you guys, right? Is my
We can
screen
see you
shared
guys.
properly? All right, perfect. Okay, then I'll go and switch tabs over here. So everybody, welcome. I always bring us all back to the home page. Feel free to speak up if any questions come in, DJ, Andrew, anybody. Obviously I can't see you guys right now, so this is kind of the WatsonX homepage. So if you were to get us, a subscription of WatsonX.ai, this is where you're going to be all day long. This is where the magic happens, right? There's a lot of things going on here. I'm going to take it through an overview of everything that WatsonX can kind of do. And then we're actually going to play around with this guy. This is actually a new beta that we just released. I think it was 10 days ago. So just know the actual demo is going to be this beta, and it's not super, super pretty. It's very new, but it's very cool, right? So I've been enjoying it a lot. So if we open up my project, right? So the thing that I just kind of wanted to show across here is that by using WatsonX, what's really important here is that you don't get one thing, right? You get 30 things. So if you want to do machine learning projects, RAG solutions, but you don't want to have to like code it up yourself, here we go. We've got some auto AI integration, right? This is, things where you need to connect to databases or do grounding documents you've got here. If you want to do any type of prompting and tuning, which for those who may not know too much about it, that is the whole case of I taken a model and I want it to do things specifically catered to what I care about, right? I don't care about certain general knowledge. I want it to know my use cases, right? So you can tune a foundation model to do things for you specifically, right? So just quick overviews on a couple of these, but there's a lot of functionality in this tool, right? So anybody who is working in it, they're working with something because there's just so much to work with, right? But I'm going to open up my my actual agent that I created for this. So here is something new that IBM's been working on, which is the agentic AI, right? And this is different from what we've been doing in the past. So the two differentiators that we've kind of been going with is there's AI assistants on one hand, and then now we've got these AI agents on the other, right? Agents are the new iteration. They can do so much more, and they can even use assistants, right? So the idea being that AI assistants can help you do your job, while AI agents can do certain tasks for you, right? Now, WatsonX in this entire thing, now Andrew's going to go over a little bit more on his end for more of like a, kind of out of the box prepackaged. This one is definitely going to be a lot more of I create something and now I can implement it within my own tooling, my own application. So there is a little bit more development to do here, but there's such a big upside for things like that, right? So let me go ahead and take you through what exactly this agent is, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on the screen. Don't worry about it. I'll take you through everything, right? So first things first, obviously you can choose models, right? Just what model do you want to use? You want to bring your own model, right? So we can select from there. We got model parameters such as frequency, temperature. These things we don't need to necessarily worry about because the cool thing we want to do is right here, the box I'm making with my mouse, right? The idea of tools is where the AI agents are really going to stand out, right? So the idea being here is that the AI agent now can use as many tools as you can think of, and they can use specific tools, right? So for instance, what I've added here today is 4 tools. One of them is a Google search tool. The other one's a document search. This is a weather. And unfortunately, this one is still very beta, so it doesn't actually work, but I'll talk about it. This one is the really cool one because this is a custom tool that I've made. Unfortunately, it's broken, but I will show it. So why is this cool though, right? So first off, if I pull this open, you can see here's like some of the native tools that we already have. So I've grabbed these 4, right? So why are things like this cool? Well, now I can do a lot more because now I can use 2 or more things to complete a simple task. So DJ, I don't know if you're at the MAPSYS headquarters. You might be, but
Yep, right now.
let's
Yep.
go ahead and do a simple question to the AI agent of what's the weather at MAPSYS, right? Now, this isn't a hard question for somebody who's a person necessarily, but they're going to need to do a little bit of research, right? Raise a hands. How many people know where MAPSYS headquarters is? I bet you DJ knows,
better,
right?
Where am I?
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't know it, but the AI knows how to find this answer, right? So I say, what is the weather at MAPSYS? Okay, it does some thinking, and now it's got my answer for it. And now I can find out, well, how did I get that answer, right? And this is very key because a lot of people don't know. I asked a question to the AI, it gave me an answer back, and there we go. I don't know where anything came from, right? I can't validate anything unless I do it by myself, right? So if we go through this, we can even see how it's using these tools over here to complete the search, right? So the first thing it did is it found actually the MAPSYS privacy policy, right? It thinks it got the right answer, so it made the next query to weather, which gave it an incorrect answer, right? It didn't get an answer. So he goes, I must have had the wrong answer for my first point. I'm going to go back and I'm going to try it again. So
This is cool.
it's gone through a Google search, it's gone through the weather tooling, and it said, I didn't get my answer, so I'm going to go try it again. I'm going to go try the Google search again. If this were to fail again, it might have gone to the document search, right? The idea that it's going to try again and again and again to get you an answer rather than making one up is huge. ChatGPT makes up so many answers for me when I use it. I don't like made up answers, right? So this one goes through and it says, okay, I figured out that it's Columbus, Ohio. Why don't I call my weather tooling with Columbus, Ohio? And now I've given you the final answer using the model that you requested for me, right? And let me go ahead and collapse all these so it's nice and pretty again. Apologies. And there we go. We've got our answer, right? And he gave me even more than I would have expected. So then let me just clear this out. So this other one that I went ahead and put in, this is actually a document search. So if anybody knows about like RAG searching and things like that, this is a demo that I made for a previous client where I uploaded example documents of build quotes, right? Like if I was going to be a construction company and have a whole database of here's a quote that I won, here's a quote that I lost, here's my minimum pricing that I can do. And then I put a sample question of, what if I ask it to build me a winning quote? Is it going to just make up an answer or is it going to pull from my document search, right? Now, this is nothing necessarily new, but the aspect that I can do so many things in one tool is, right? This used to be a tool all in itself. This is used to be what you bought, is just this little slice of life, right? So DJ, Dan, Andrew, am I making sense so far? So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I can't tell you the number of times I've used ChatGPT or Perplexity, and I go, I don't think that answer's right. And then I ask for it to tell me where it got the answer, and it makes it up.
Right.
And
Yep.
I'm like, okay, give me a link to that. I can't.
There's nothing I love more than knowing where an answer came from, right? So now this last one was going to be the most fun, and I'm so sad, unfortunately, that it did break. So I put in the tool description that my tool did break for the time being. So
Well,
this is where in the near future, they plan to re-enable this, but there's still some bugs to figure out. But this is where we can add custom tooling, right? Because, hey, there's 7 tools there, but I need things that are going to be good for my business, right? So the custom tooling was a Python code interface where now I can do whatever I can dream of in Python, right? So from here, you say, here's my input, here's what it's necessarily going to look like, and here's where I'm going to get the result. Obviously, this is just a bunch of libraries that you see, but this is not a lot of code to get good functionality out. So what I ended up doing, I previously had 2 of these, but this one is I put a chatbot within the agentic AI, right? The agentic AI has chatbot functionality with itself, but now I can make almost an expert chatbot, right? So the idea here being that the original guy is just based off of this Llama 3 model, for example. But this one that I was building was specialized, right? So now, whenever I want to have the subject matter expert answer a question for me, this was the tool that my AI was then able to call. I was calling AI within AI, right? So I
That's
had this one
amazing.
running, and then my part 2 one that was running was a stock ticker. So I would say, give me stock information for Motorola, and then it would call 3 separate tools to give me all the information that I need. I don't think it was 3, but this idea that you can use agentic AI to call multiple things and do so much more with it, right? And I'm personally somebody who loves Python, so I can do anything in Python. So
Mhm.
this is where real business value can come out of, right?
Yeah, I
So
love this. This shows that IBM really is on the cutting edge of some of the stuff that we can do and put together for our customers. I love it, Alex. This is great.
yep. And the big thing that Andrew and I talk about every single day with our customers is this stuff is not difficult. Even creating your own custom tool, you can make this as simple and as hard as you need. Your company may have already 100 Python scripts ready to be just integrated into this. Copy paste it, and now you've got your tool. Yeah, there's so many cases where I just had back in my days at like Raytheon, where I just never knew certain scripts existed until somebody told me about them. And now you can just call them without even knowing about them by just natural language, right? So this is stuff that gets me really excited about the future. So so I don't how long have I
So
been talking for? I can definitely show
we
more, but I don't want to
we
take
are
control too
at
much.
142, I think. Ella, I think we can go a little bit longer potentially. Andrew, what do you think? How much time do you
Mhm.
think you need?
Not that long, since I'm really showing the end user experience. So it's really more so how we're using AI, how it's being consumed by the LOB. So Alex, if you want to show a little bit more on the developer side, that would be great. Otherwise, I
Yeah,
could just
definitely.
kick it off and get started.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go through
So,
one more of my. Oh,
hey
sorry,
guys,
Ella, go ahead.
yeah, I just have one quick question from the audience. What is the future of AI development?
Ooh, good question. What is the future? I mean, so I think the easy answer is the near future is this agentic AI, right? And if we're talking, so potentially that question has 2 answers. I want to say is, what does the development look like by the users, and what does the development look like by the developers, right? What is it versus IBM versus a client, right?
Mhm.
So on the IBM side, I would say that this agentic AI is going to be, I mean, I think this is going to be developed over the next 5-10 years until we come up with the very next state, right? Which is going to be agentic plus, right? Whatever it is. So the idea of one input to many different ways of getting an output, the agentic AI structure, I think, is what's going to be on the development side. So, Andrew,
Good point. I
I
would
feel
have
like
said
I've
a
been talking
friendly
for a while, but
Terminator, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm going to go back to this anyway.
I think in the short term, you're going to see developers use more and more tools, which means they'll be able to be more and more productive. For a while, the companies will gladly absorb that, 20, 30, 40% improvement. I don't think is unexpected in the next 2 to 3 years with developers who are using tools to write code that they then go in and edit.
Mhm.
at a certain point, and this may be 4 or 5 years, it may be 10 or 15 years, maybe 25 years off, the developer will become so efficient and the code will be written so well that we'll start to not need nearly as many developers. But you know, it's the same with autonomous trucks, right? We all thought we'd have autonomous semi trucks by now, and we sure as heck don't. So I don't know how long developers or truck drivers have a job for.
It's coming every day, right? So
Coming. All right, so what are we looking at here,
okay,
Alex?
so what I was actually thinking is I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing, and I think we should go over to Andrew's, and then
Okay.
whenever Andrew finishes, if we want to see more, let's come right back to me. That way, people don't
Outstanding.
have to hear my voice for 30 minutes in a row.
It's a great voice. Thank you, Alex. Andrew,
People
take it
are-
away.
They're probably
Thanks,
sick of me. So
Never, my man,
Well,
never.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And what Alex showed you was really the developer experience. This is how you developed your AI applications to be embedded in your current tooling, how you can build prompts and tool generative AI to integrate it into your business from more of a developer side of things. What I'm showing you now is our Watson X Orchestrate platform. Can I just get confirmation that you can see the Orchestrate landing
Yep.
page?
yeah, you are good.
So just a preface, Watson X Orchestrate is our AI assistant suite, as well as our AI and automation democratization platform. What this allows for you to do is leverage conversational AI and a conversational AI interface to automate tasks, infuse your business workflows and processes with AI, and connect to all your various business applications with an overarching orchestration layer where AI is also present in taking in your input and determining which assistant would be best capable of handling that task, which workflow should be kicked off, which automation task needs to be kicked off to allow for work to be done in a much more productive manner. So allowing for an end user like myself in this situation to connect to all these out of the box integrations with business applications that I might be using, as well as business logic, robotic process automation bots, and AI prompts as well. So I'm just going to get started with a really simple input. I'm just going to ask or prompt the chat that I need to put in a support ticket, something that I think a lot of business users would have to do sometimes. It automatically directs me to the assistant that's capable of handling that. It kicks off this automation task. It connects to an out-of-the-box connector to ServiceNow, one of our key partners in developing Watson X Orchestrate and having that level of integration with your business applications. It's then going to walk me through the process of filling out the support ticket such that I don't have to navigate to that page to do that. I can complete all my work through this conversational interface. So I'm just going to put in my information. So first my email address, and then some information on what the ticket is. Maybe it's I don't have access to my sales dashboard despite being an authorized user.
Happens to be every single week. That
right? I feel like I do that on a daily basis. And look, it automatically launches that task. It sends the information downstream, connects with ServiceNow or whatever ticketing system you use. It can even connect with downstream applications via an open API specification. So it can really be customized to what your business intelligence stack looks like, what business applications you might be leveraging. And it hits you at the line of business level. I'm able to do this as just a business user looking to get work done. Let's say I have something a little bit more nuanced. Let's say I work within sales and I want to complete some other tasks within my role. I think first and foremost, just a general question. How do I create a quote for my customer? And what's going to happen here is Orchestrate's going to utilize that orchestration layer. See, now you can see instead of this VP demo assistant, it's directing me to Ask Sales, a domain-specific agent that can be provided out of the box by IBM, which is suited for a sales individual hitting that line of business. It's performing a pretty common task, leveraging AI, retrieval augmented generation or RAG, which is backing an AI model with a vector database of unstructured data. So It's leveraging my policy documents or instruction documents such that I ask this question and it's able to parse through all that information and provide me with a natural language output, giving me the step-by-step instructions. I can do the same thing for other questions, such as what kind of discounting can I get? And it's going to
Sure, all
spit
the
out.
customers on the phone are interested in this one, right, Andrew?
Yeah, right. And it's going to spit out another natural language output. Once again, just like kind of informing me as the end user, like the benefits are already realized. I'm having a better understanding of how I need to do work. I'm getting the information I need to complete my daily job. But you can also kick off and automate more complex tasks, complex workflows, such as writing an email to an existing customer. So I'm going to prompt it to write an email to an existing customer. And what it's going to do is it's going to connect with another downstream application, in this case, Salesforce, and it's going to pull a table of information of my current customer base. It's taking a little bit of time, but it's able to connect downstream to that business application and pull the information I need without me navigating from one application to another. Think about this workflow. You're going to want to go one place to gather the information you need, then go to Salesforce to find the customer and find the customer contact. See here, it gives me the list. When I click apply, it's then going to spit out a list of contacts I could reach out to. Then I'm going to want to find and parse through my knowledge base, any documents to find information on the discount, like I showed you before, or the actual play that we want to make. So I'm just going to offer an upsell to our content management platform using the 35% discount. And finally, it's actually going to be able to leverage generative AI to assist me in writing this email. So not only is AI involved from that orchestration layer, aligning me with the correct assistant, the correct task, the correct automation tool or connection to the business application, but it can also be infused within these workflows, thus augmenting me and taking away the hassle of having to write a compelling email while also still keeping the human in the loop. We don't want these emails to be sent out all willy-nilly, right? So I can look through, read through. You can even see like it includes the 35% discount that I was able to find through leveraging RAG to go through the documentation, and I can edit. I can add my own unique signature. And then just by clicking apply, I can complete that workflow, and it's going to automatically connect to my Microsoft Outlook and send the email, thus showing how our Watson X Orchestrate platform is really strong in the sense that, you know, you see these co-pilots, they have assistants that are these point solutions that solve individual business problems, but this allows for you to orchestrate and organize your assistants, your automation tools, and AI capabilities, infusing your workflows with business logic and AI to get work done all in this consolidated conversational interface. And looking in the long term, what I can see Orchestrate eventually being able to do is, once again, like that self-driving truck, being able to autonomously select what's the next best action, what's the next best thing to do, and really leaning in on that agentic AI capability, similar to what Alex showed, and being able to complete tasks on its own just with a simple conversational input.
Yep.
Andrew, that's awesome. You know, Andrew, Alex, both these are really exciting. You are both architects and you know what you're doing, of course, but how long did it take you both to make these, what I would say, frameworks of proof of concepts? How long did it take you?
Mine, mine probably took me for the whole, everything you saw on my project. I want to say it probably took me about 25 minutes. So
25 weeks? That's a long time, yeah.
Minutes.
Oh, wait, minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, that's different. Yeah. So Andrew, what about you? How many weeks?
Yeah, it took me 20 minutes actually as well. It's
20
as simple as, yeah, it's all just low code, no code. You know, you might need to get an open API specification if the skill that you want to use or the connection to the business application that you want isn't offered out of the box. But we have so many partnerships in out of the box capabilities as far as the different business applications and automation capabilities that are just available readily under the hood as soon as you get on the platform. So it's just a matter of orchestrating the skills, putting your assistants together, some of which are also offered out of the box, and connecting the data from one stream to another and having that level of automation and architecting that, which really doesn't take a lot of time because it's all just drag and drop tools.
Perfect. Perfect. Andrew, Alex, thank you so much. That's exactly what I want to get at. It's minutes, not weeks. And that's I think the big takeaway from a lot of folks on the phone here. This is how fast we can do a proof of concept. And if we can do a framework of a proof of concept in 20 minutes, a real proof of concept isn't much longer than that. And then how fast can we get you into production? Right? It's all there, right? We can do it in minutes or days, definitely not weeks or months.
What answer average hourly cost for development? So that's our first question from the audience.
That's a great question. Huh.
The price
Honestly, it's gonna
always a good one. Sorry, DJ.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're selling stuff here. We're representing MAPSYS and IBM a large proportion of the time. Obviously, two architects and fellow sellers here too. You know, honestly, it really will depend. Some of the projects that we've gotten into are large and very capable and require lots of compute. And after the proof of concept is done, they will require several months to finish up and put into production. That, you know, you might be looking at, I mean, I hate to put any numbers on anything because it varies for everybody, folks, but 50 to 100 grand is probably not out of the question, at least to start out with, right? So yeah, I don't know. Alex, Andrew, do you want to comment too?
Yeah, I mean, pricing is always hard. I mean, you can definitely spend as much as you want. I'll tell you that. So if you want to, as much money as you want to put into it, you know, obviously is that, it's so dependent on the exact use case. But one of the nice things about that is you can also start almost as small as you want. So, you know, I've had a few clients that are like, hey, we want to put this through our entire national coverage, but we would love to start with one. Right. And so you have such a small cost of entry for those kind of things. So I don't have exact numbers to give out or anything like that, but I think it can be a lot more reasonable than you think. Right.
I will say this, right? Our favorite is probably to start in the cloud. IBM Cloud's a great place. Yep. IBM is the only AI tools that work in all clouds, though. So keep that in mind. Number two, I do have a customer that have asked me to do it on-prem. Listen, they're going to buy it. They want to buy it. I'm telling them, don't. It's really expensive. They just want to do it on-prem for reasons. So there you go. Great question, though.
Thank you.
Ella?
Thank you, gentlemen. So another question from the audience. How can companies quickly catch up if they realize they are lagging in AI implementation?
I mean, I think it starts, you're in the right place. You've taken the first step by coming to this webinar or going to any event. As I said, it starts with self-education. And then, you know, this is like any transformation you try to do at a company. If you want something to put you to sleep, pick up Cotter's book on transformation. And what you'll learn is one of the first things you have to do is you have to build an alliance, a committee, a group of folks who are aligned. If you're trying to make your entire organization move in an AI direction by yourself, you're going to fail. But if you build a group of folks, if you build a group of influential people, if you build that see the vision and want to work with you, then you take a look at, okay, are we doing the easiest stuff, right? Are we using the productivity tools, the chat GPTs, Copilots, Perplexities, etc.? Once you've done that, then you come back to folks like us or, you know, anyone else who's an expert at AI and then can sit down with you and look at what are our core business goals, and then where does AI align to solve those business challenges rapidly.
That's perfect. And what did I tell you guys in the last two webinars, right? The folks that are on the phone here, right? Find an expert. You've found 4 right now. There are lots of experts. Of course, we are evangelizing ourselves, but find some folks to help you. Dan's an amazing expert to help you. So am I, and Andrew and Alex as well. So great question.
We love talking about this kind of stuff. So feel free to email us, call us, anything, right? So
yeah, no kidding, Alex. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I feel like this should have been a 2-hour webinar. I feel like we left so much on the table.
We have next one.
We have the next one. Maybe we'll have to
part 3.
Oh, or three. You got it. Ella, what else we
So,
got?
yeah, I have a follow-up question from the cost question earlier in line with that. The question is it like 50K per hour? The question is about hourly cost per hour for development.
Oh no,
Oh, I
not
think
50K an
yeah, yeah.
hour. No, not an hour. No. At a minimum, again, it depends wildly, but I would say 50K per year to get started. If it's a larger application, I mean, we're doing this, right? We've spent hundreds of thousands a year as well for very large applications doing things. So, I mean, it varies wildly, and a company like MAPSYS has so much talent that we can do it for you. We could do it. We could teach you with Alex and Andrew for 10 hours, and then you can just play with it and use whatever compute you're going to use on IBM Cloud or Azure Cloud or AWS with IBM tools, right? All IBM tools. And then just depends, right? So how much development talent do you already have internally? How willing are they to experiment? If you don't have that talent, happy to provide it for you and teach you along the way, or just do it all for you, but that's going to be more cost.
I
Thank you,
always hate to give
Jim.
the answer, but like the engineering, it depends answer. I was like,
I know.
I'm so sorry to have to give that answer, right?
But I
Yeah.
think you can align it to a lot of our traditional application development projects. I think most folks on this call are in tech, and you've been through a project or two before. There are small ones that you can get going even in a medium to large size organization for several tens of thousands of dollars. And if that's the budget that you have to work with, there are usually opportunities we can find that are, low hanging fruit, quick wins. Um, if you have large projects where I suggest, rather than saying, here's my budget, I suggest you start with we have this major initiative for 2025 of spending, whether it's hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars on this particular effort already. Let's take a look at if AI is the right tool to patch in there. And in that case, it may save you. What was going to be a $3 million project may turn into a $1.5 million project because you were able to automate and use some AI tools.
That's a great point. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We have two more questions. I'm going to showcase the second to the last. Can AI be used to develop a testing system for testing software, i.e., a new WMS, whereby we can pump huge amounts of transactions through the system and find the system issue that we may not find using a lighter, more manual testing method?
So you want to do performance testing using AI on a warehouse management system? Is that what I think the question is? And the answer is absolutely. We can use AI to generate the data. We can use AI to build automated scripts. Absolutely. And that could be a very quick, easy win use case, depending on the environment that you currently have set up. Obviously, in performance testing, you're going to have to build a large enough environment that we can replicate the constraints you're going to have. But absolutely happy to do a deep dive in that area, and absolutely AI can help you do that.
Awesome. Alex, Andrew, you guys concur? Yes, you love that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. Yep.
Good one. Love it.
I like those ones.
Great.
Thank you.
Last questions that I'm going to showcase for today, and then we're going to wrap up because we're like 3 minutes over. What
I
are
know.
the
Sorry.
key indicators that a business has fallen behind in AI adoption?
I
Nothing
would
comes to mind.
say if their data is a mess, right? If your data is a mess, you're going to struggle to implement until you fix your data, right? The core concept of everything is just going to be garbage in, garbage out, right? So the best way to get ready for AI is to not have the garbage in part, right? So and that doesn't mean things need to be structured or unstructured. They just need to be truthful, right? So you need to have the data, right? You can't
Good
just
point.
have things everywhere. So
Yeah, I would remind the audience that you are valuable as a business because of your data. So are you behind now? Can you tell if you're behind now? Gosh, I'd kind of lean towards no, but boy, Alex is right. If your data is a mess, it's gonna be harder to do anything with, that's for sure.
I agree with you, Alex, but I would challenge you that I don't think organizations can know what clean data looks like or well-organized data
Yeah.
looks like until they understand the business cases and they start trying to use it. So I've been in a situation where we build a data lake and we go, hey, all the data's here and it's all wonderful. Then we go to use it and everybody goes, yeah, that's not actually what we needed. And we just spent a year putting it all in there. And I never want to be there again. So what I would say is, if you want to know if your organization is behind, the first question is, are you guys using productivity enhancing tools today? If the answer is
Mhm.
no, I'm going to say you're probably already getting a little behind. Next, are you guys working towards finding ways to integrate AI to solve your core business competencies? If you're not exploring it yet, you're going to be getting behind this year. A year or two from now, you will be behind.
Dan, I
That's
completely agree with you. I love that. So
yeah, that's a core message from Dan all the time, right? 5 years from now, if you haven't done it, you have a business still, right? Is that a little bit of FUD potentially, but it's I think Dan's evidence that he shared with us earlier is sort of bears that out with previous technology changes. So.